Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm Tim Harris. Thank you for swinging back by. Today, NFL linebacker Mike Singletary. Oh, my goodness. It's not him.
What's up, man?
My friend Mike Singletary, old Homebusters guy,
Yeah.
big entrepreneur. Why don't you just take a minute and tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for having me on. I've been a serial entrepreneur my whole life, never had a real job. So worked in a lot of different industries before I got into home investors and real estate investing. I opened high-end hair salons in Houston, Texas, which is a really weird fucking way of going from that to this, right? So, but it was awesome, man. That was an awesome gig. Sold that, got into home investors, figured out pretty quickly that really wasn't my gig, and opened Star House, and I've been buying and selling homes in Central Texas ever since. Opened Skip Force probably about 4 years ago, which is a data aggregation company. We provide investors with skip tracing services and property data so they can execute the telecommunications marketing. And, man, just been doing that, slinging data and buying properties.
You know, there's not a whole lot of things that I enjoy more than buying properties.
Yeah.
Can't say I enjoy slinging data, but I do love data.
It's awesome, man.
That helps.
It's a great business, man. It runs on 5 people. I could run the whole thing on 5 people, and it's a SaaS company as well. So it's, you know, you got that monthly reoccurring, you're helping people. I talk to investors all day, every day. I help them with their business. So I dig that one a lot.
Well, I mean, hey, as long as you're making money and having fun,
Yeah.
you know, it's like I always say, if you don't have fun, what do you have?
Yeah.
All right, first segment is the bluff, the bottom line up front. The bottom line up front is basically we live in an attention deficit society. Someone's listening right now, but in a little bit, their wife's going to call, and they're never going to turn this thing back on. They're going to forget. So take 2 minutes, talk to the audience about things that you're seeing in the marketplace, maybe some things you think people should be focused on, maybe you think some things you think people should avoid. Really just kind of, heck, you can call it the cliff notes of what we're going to talk about for the next half hour.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, man. For sure. I think most investors are always trying to take the shortcut, man. And that's probably the biggest thing for me that I see why some investors are killing it and most are not, truthfully. And when it comes to data, because I have the access to 1,200 customers, I could always tell by the way they manipulate their data, by the way they run their business, if they're going to be successful or not. So it's always about the details. And a lot of times, you know, they push off the responsibility onto everybody else. So, I mean, to me, man, entrepreneurship is just a test in self-development. You know what I mean? So if you're not going to take ownership in every part of the process, you're probably not going to be successful.
So one of the things that I talk about a lot is accountability.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like it's kind of become a fundamental flaw in our society is there's just no accountability.
Yeah, man.
And a lot of entrepreneurs, they delegate what they hate, right? And they, unfortunately, oftentimes it's delegation by abdication, right? It's just kind of like, oh, Mike, you're in charge of that now. Here, take it all. And then they run away. And is that what you're talking about when you say you got to own it?
It is, man. I mean, listen, I'm guilty of that too, right? I mean, I run my company through VAs, and anything I could delegate, I can. But ultimately, nobody's going to give a shit about your business except for you, you know? And you have to oversee your employees on a regular basis, your systems and processes. You got to be on top of it. And I think that what happens with investors specifically is that they just want that easy button. You know what I mean? And that's how, I don't know if I can say that's how home investors became probably popular, because they thought that they were selling the easy button. Man, but there's no easy button in this business. It's the hardest way to make an easy dollar, you know?
That's pretty well said. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, home investors, I think it attracted people that wanted a business in a box, right? And I'll never forget back in, I think it was 06, 07, 05, I don't know, one of those O's. I went to Michael Gerber, you know, the author of the E-Myth. He had this thing called the Dreaming Room in Sonoma, California. And you'd go spend the weekend with him and talk about all the things that you wanted to work on and da-da-da-da. And I kind of got in an argument with the guy. He's like, anything can be systematized. I was like, man, you can't systematize rehabbing a house at scale. And he's like, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And it's funny now because obviously the big hedge funds have shown that you can, but
their timeline's different.
Well, but they were completely more disciplined about what they pursued versus what they received.
Right.
Right. Like in the direct to seller business, you have no control over who calls you, right? It may be the governor's mansion outside the window or a crack house, on the south side of Austin. You just don't know.
Right.
And so then we try to fit the square peg into 3 round holes, not just 1, 3. And I think oftentimes that's what leads to not only frustration, but ultimately confusion.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree, but I think that that's a totally different game too, right? They can systemize it because they can make a lot of mistakes because their timeline is so wide. They're not like a lot of investors run out of cash. They have to make money. They have to turn it over pretty quickly. So your point is I think, on point in the sense that it's unbelievably difficult to systemize it, doing at scale as our type of operator. Right. Even the big guys that you see now, and I'll talk to them like, how are you doing this? They're still hands-on and, they're still in the weeds to a certain degree. So
there are a lot of people that you would think are super successful,
right,
that are one bad month away from losing it all.
Look what happened when COVID hit.
Yeah.
Even the biggest masterminds, people were freaking out. People that are the best of the best, I just think that there's a lot of false information about our business in the sense that can you get into it without any money? You can, but to run a big operation requires a lot of capital and a lot of capital management. A lot. And people don't understand that, right? And to your point, you're 1 bad month or 2 bad months away from going broke, right? So it's a tough business. It's a lot of moving parts.
How did you go from salon owner to franchise owner of Ugly House Company?
Dude, I'm like everybody else, man. I've always wanted more, I mean, I just hit this stage in my life where more isn't the requirement for me anymore. It's not about money. It's about what I want out of life, right? But at that point, I always thought, hey, the people that made real money had something to do with real estate. And I knew nothing about real estate. I never was in sales or anything like that. I knew how to create processes and systems and create a team. So I just was trying to take a shortcut, thinking, hey, I can just get a business in a box. They could teach me everything, and I just roll with it. I realized really quickly, man, that there's no shortcuts, obviously, right? But the most important thing that these franchises take away from you is the marketing, which is that's the business, man. The business is sales and marketing. The house is just the widget, right? So that's when I figured out really, really quickly that I'm in the wrong place. I'm going to stay in this business.
Well, especially for your type personality where you may want to be involved in the marketing, right? You may want to be, there's some people, we have a lot of really successful home investors clients at RCN that they could care less about anything other than cost per lead and cost per deal. I think the most successful ones really just look at cost per deal. They don't even look at cost per lead. They kind of like, that's the advertising company's job, is the way they tell it. What was the process? So you said hair salons, then you said ugly houses. How did that lead to data?
Yeah, it's great, man, because about 5 years ago, texting came in, right? And we were one of the first in this area, if not the first, that incorporated that into our marketing campaign. And at that time, we were spending 15, 17, 18 cents for skip trace. And like most of us, I'm trying to find a different way. I'm like, 1, I know they're reselling it, from somebody else. 2, why can't I find that source or a source that's comparable? And man, I just kept, once I have my mind on something, that's it. I'm just going to find it. Once I found it, I'm like, well, shit, it's working for my business. Why can't I sell this? Really kind of ignorant. You know what I'm saying? Like super ignorant, because I am not, people think I'm a data guy. I'm not a data guy. Well, I'm not even a system and process guy. I just see a product. I know it works. I sell it. So having to figure out how to manage that data and then sell it and put it in a format that is, that people can consume was unbelievably difficult, because our source is different from anybody else's. So we came out with stuff like optimal call window. Like we could literally tell you the time of day that phone number is most active every single day, right? So that increases your conversion ratio. Well, when we introduced that 4 years ago, people thought we were full of shit. So I didn't do a very good job of introducing it into the market. You know what I mean? So these like complexities I had to work through, and man, it just makes you better, brother. It sucks when you're going through it, but when you look back, you're like, man, I learned a lot, and it makes you a lot better, you know?
And so now, I know you were doing some like RV park developments. You're doing the data. What is Star Homes? Is it Star Homes?
Star House. Well, that's our that's our house buying business, but we're really buying as much land as we are houses. Actually, more land than we are houses right now. So we pivoted to land probably about 6 months ago, and then we were like doing 100% land, and now we're incorporating houses back because I want to get into bigger tracts of land. I want to be in Texas. It's called the Triangle. I want to be focused on the Triangle, which is San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, right? So we started with infill lots. Now we're looking at, 100+ acre, parcels and stuff like that.
What are you doing with them?
Well, we were flipping them, and now we're going to start, selling them to developers. Essentially we're flipping them, but we'll be subdividing. We are subdividing. We're doing stuff that does value add situations.
So kind of entitlements and getting it ready for plats and all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You think you can get out of the single family space?
I don't know if I'll get out of it, man. I think it'll always be there because we've had it pretty dialed in. But it's not my passion. If I'm gonna tell you that,
right?
It's not something that just drives me, man. Because I feel like you're dealing with problems, and with land, it's transactional,
right?
So, and I like that, and I like dealing with people that or having a conversation. I went from a situation where I'm talking to. In our hair salon, we were dealing with the cream of the crop, right? So I was talking a really, really high level. And now, with houses, you're dealing with people that has a lot of problems. And I'm not cutting that at all. I think that we help some, but do we really help it? I don't know, right? I mean, and also I feel as if, I don't know how to say this. I feel as if that wasn't my real calling. It's just a stepping stone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, I tell people all the time, my wife included, it makes me feel a little disingenuous sometimes that the way I kind of bash single family houses these days. But yeah, if I never had to talk to another motivated seller or hear about someone died and why I have to go buy their house for pennies on the dollar, like I would be a happy guy. Like, it'd be okay.
It drives me nuts, man. I'm not even going to lie to you. It does. Every once in a while, you'll get that customer, you're like, I'm really helping them. And that feels cool, right? But more times than not, it's just, I'm not. It's just,
it's a bar fight.
You're losing this fucking house, man. You're going to lose this house.
It's a bar fight.
Can I cuss on this? I'm sorry.
No, you shouldn't, but it's... We've got the little beep button.
We got the beep. You're going to beep the heck out of me, man.
No, you're good. Yeah, but like, literally, it's a bar fight, right? Like you got the competition lining up outside.
Yeah.
And these people, they don't take care of their stuff, but they want the most money possible.
Right.
It's a beat down. But I love the way you said it's a stepping stone, right?
Yeah.
Like I started out as a project manager, then I became a wholesaler, then I became a flipper, then I started building owner finance note portfolios, then I ran one of the biggest home investors ever, from what I understand. And then, the Great Recession smacked me in the teeth. And then I started the expo. And there's seasons and stages. And I think all of I want to say it's careers, right? Like, your career is that natural progression.
It's evolution, man. I think the common thread that I love, I really like Skip Force because I get to talk to people that are growing their business. So the mindset's the same. You know what I mean? They're strivers, right? They want something more, And so I think that's just, if we just understand that that's our evolution, because that's our nature, that we want more for our life, that we're going to have those ebbs and flows and stuff like that. And I know, and I'm older now, man. So I'm 53 years old, right?
Oh my God.
Well, yeah, I'm just kidding. I'm 53 years old, but it's great, man, because I remember, like, I look at these young guys and they're all, they're in this space, mental space. And I used to be there too, brother. You know what I'm saying? I used to be just like them, right? But you have the benefit of age, man.
Well, I'm 45 now, and I see some of these young guns on Instagram and whatnot. I'll just say showing off. And then I'll see some of them, like my guy Donovan Ruffin, like he's always posting about being a father now.
Yeah.
And like I'm so proud for him, like not of him because like I'm not his dad or anything, but you know, it's hard for entrepreneurs to really kind of prioritize that, specifically on the first round, right? Yeah. Oftentimes, old guys like me, I mean, you kind of have to learn the hard way, you know, and not listen to people. So now I'm with you. Like it's nice to change things based off of experience. I won't say age. I'll say experience. How about that?
It doesn't matter to me. Whatever you want to call it, brother.
All right, we're going to take a break real quick, and then we'll come back and talk. I want to talk more about SkipForce. Stick around. We'll be right back. At RCN Capital, we know that time is money. With our competitive rates and quick turnaround time, you can receive funding in as little as 10 days. We offer flexible payment plans to relieve the pressure of repayment process. Our team is experienced in making sure that you choose a loan that will suit you best. Get on the phone with the loan officer today by emailing info@rcncapital.com or clicking the link in our bio. Okay. Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm still here with NFL linebacker Mike Singletary. I'm not going to stop doing that.
That's right. I get great reservations in Waco, dude. I buy in Waco.
Right?
Whenever I call a restaurant in Waco, dude, they get all excited. You ever see that Michael Jordan commercial where there's like a skinny white guy and he calls and it's like, I'm Michael Jordan. Everybody gets super excited and he shows up. That's me in Waco. You know, and Chicago.
Mike Singletary is a really cool dude. Have you ever met him?
I haven't.
So he coached high school football against my oldest son's private school.
Nice.
And, I mean, he would go through the line and shake the kid's hand after the game, and he knew he was a celebrity. But, I mean, it was like Mike Singletary. I mean, it was...
He seems like a cool guy.
He's so much cooler than you.
I hope so.
I hope so. So, SkipForce, I love that it's a completely different product.
Yeah.
That was born out of necessity and a little bit of stubbornness, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Talk about like what the company does, what it's like today, and where it's going.
Yeah, for sure, man. So we were the first to introduce a lot of different data points. So we were the first to introduce carrier data. So everybody else has credit data, right? So we found this data source, and like I said earlier, it was unbelievably difficult to package it because you would get this output file, the file that you would get returned, and it looked totally different from everybody else, right? Plus, we were able to get it for really cheap. And so one of the mistakes I made was that I was like, you know what, man, we're just going to put it at a lower price. And like most people think that, hey, a lower price means lower quality. So it took us a little while to get through that. You know what I mean? Telecommunications marketing wasn't what it used to be. Like obviously SMS is getting bashed. Cold calling, regardless of what people say, is still strong. Most people just don't know how to manipulate the dialer and manipulate the data to where, or effectively go through the data to make sure you're maximizing it, right? So what we do a lot is that we help people aggregate the data accordingly, clean it up, and we give them the best opportunity to get what's called a right person contact so they could have that conversation, right? And then, you know, skip tracing it's an exact science, man. It's like, I don't care what provider it is, it's 50% wrong. That's just how it is, right? So we're able to position ourselves like, man, if it's going to be 50% wrong, why are you paying 12 cents, 10 cents, or even 8 cents for the data that's 50% wrong? Come to us, run your first tier through us, and then you can run your second batch of non-performing numbers through somebody else. And that's been our position in the market.
Very cool.
Yeah, man.
So last week on Facebook, you know, the source of all truth, a lot of REI guys were cold calling's dead, text messaging is dead. I mean, I don't know I don't do that, so I don't know anything about it. Can you tell me maybe what's going on in the industry?
I mean, shaken and stirred. So, you know, we are spammers, right? And so, you know, with us, not just us, but, you know, insurance, solar, all that stuff, it just caused such a ruckus that the carriers are blocking phone numbers and making, you know, you go through extra steps to be able to get your message in front of the consumer, right? Especially in text, cold texting. There's a little bit of a gray area in that, in a sense that if they're not opt-in, you're not really supposed to cold text them. But some people say that that's only if you sold a service, You know, we're in this gray area. It's like, well, we're going to buy something, so it's not really illegal. Ultimately, the carriers care about the consumers, and the consumers are complaining. So now they're putting other additional steps in to make sure that, you know, it blocks spammers, right? So that's why on texting, the texting is getting hit pretty darn hard. Cold calling is too. That's why you have to really be dialed in to understand how to get the right data and manipulate your dialer. And when I say manipulate your dialer, you want to make sure that you're getting enough phone numbers per agent and rotating them enough, and make sure that the avail time is adjusted. You're probably not understanding anything I'm saying right now.
It.
Okay, all right. So avail time, you have to do all these little steps to make sure that your delivery rate is high. And most people don't do that. So most people, here's what they do. They'll sit there and they'll just take it and they'll put on $1 and not really, you know, really care about it, and just start dialing and wonder why they're not getting results, not tracking KPIs or whatever. Or they'll outsource it to somebody else, and they're hoping that person does it right, right? And just like anything else, man, you got to be on top of your stuff, you know?
I found hope is not a good business strategy.
Hopium? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dude, I mean, it is what it is, man. I mean, it is I still think your cost per lead and cost per contract is as low, or, you know, lower with this and PPC or direct mail. It does require bandwidth.
Right. Well, I find it interesting, and I'm one of those, I don't knock other people.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't either.
I'm not a big fan of bandit signs. I kind of feel like they're in general illegal and make us look bad. I can't stand cold calls and text messages, but mainly because I've had the same cell phone for 25 years.
I'm the same. So I don't even answer my call on my.
Yeah, I mean, I got put on some list recently because now I'm getting 7 or 8 like an hour, and you spend so much time going through blocking them.
Yeah,
it's just like,
it's invasive, man.
Yeah,
it's just a numbers game.
Yeah,
that's all it is, you know. But it's just like direct mail, right? Your response rate is what, 0.05 right now?
Yeah.
It used to be 1%, you know. Now it's 0.05, and
but the mad old person's gonna call you 100% of the time.
Always.
My house is not for sale. Okay.
Yeah.
You call Domino's Pizza and tell them you don't like pepperoni.
Exactly. It's kind of cool. It's crazy, right?
It is.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like, I get it. So what size investor is coming to you, and what solutions do you provide other than just here's the, or I don't say other than just, it sounds like it's more than others. You get the call availability time or the projected availability. You're giving them name, phone number, email.
Yeah, man. So we give them a name, number. We give them 3 of the top numbers. So a lot of our competitors give them 8 to 12 numbers, which is totally, I mean, it's ridiculous. You don't need that many. You just need the best number, right?
At that point, you might as well call everyone in the city.
Right. I mean, well, yes, but what it really does is that it just burns up your staff and burns up your dialer and just less opportunity. So what we do is that we could monitor the phone number's activity level to that person within the last 24 months, right? So, and then we are able to grade through that. Because of that, we're able to take our competitors' phone numbers and go, hey, this is a non-performing number. They give it to us. We could grade that number based on an activity level and see if there's another number associated with them. It's called the prime number generator. That is a higher graded number, and we only charge them when we can produce a higher graded number, right? So there are certain ways that we could give you a different product and a different way of taking that old data that you paid money for that's not producing and produce, you know? Because most people just buy another list, which is ridiculous.
So what's the future look like? Are you now going to like stick with the data realm? Or are you going to develop another company? What's the future for?
The future for Skipforce is going to be lead pros. So we're developing that right now. It's going to be a lead generating platform that's going to make the data process and the lead generation process much more seamless for people. We're also incorporating lead managers that will understand the system and do all the things that most investors hate doing, which is follow-ups, which is essentially talking to anybody that's not ready to sell, right?
So it's basically taking the most common struggles of the customer and just doing it for them.
Correct.
Hey, I'm all about it, right?
Yeah.
I made a post today. It's if you have to keep educating your customers, you're probably having the wrong conversation.
Right.
Like,
I made that mistake.
well, we all do.
Yeah.
Right? In the lending world, I can't tell you when we first started that B2Rs, I mean, you go up on a stage, and Justin Colby did it here earlier today. The ratio. I'm like, what ratio? Like DSCR, you know, and so I think, you know, the more we as business owners can dial back in to kind of the core needs or wants or knowledge base of our customers, it just makes everything better.
The KISS rule, bro. You know what I mean? It's like, and if y'all don't know what that means, I'm sure you do. What is it?
Keep it simple, stupid.
Exactly, right? The KISS rule.
Or in Intel training school, we had to write a paper, and I wrote, the title of my paper was "Let's Kiss, Sir." And I changed it from "Keep it simple, stupid" to "Keep it simple, sir," just to
yeah. You had to.
Yeah. You don't want to call the colonel stupid.
Right.
Just in general, it's not a good career move, nor is it a good physical health move.
Yeah, for sure, man. But I think with our customers that, you know, they have a lot going on. All right, you have a lot going on, and they're generally geared towards sales. Anyways, they're drivers, right? The last thing you want to do is put them in a place where they got to analyze data, organize stuff, all this. That's stuff they don't want to do. So if you want, there's no easy button, but make it an easier button. I think that's going to really help people.
So if you had to pick one, is it Star House or Skip Force that you keep doing?
Oh, Skip Force, man.
Skip Force.
Yeah, I feel like I'm helping people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I get juiced up after I talk to my clients, where I'm like, oh man, that's an easy problem. I can help you with that. Boom. You know what I mean? Or we got something that'll help you, or you're doing this wrong, or whatever. Right? Like you can help somebody. It's tangible. It's right away. Whereas Star House, just like you said, man, it's a bullfight. It's just, and I don't even talk to sellers or buyers anymore, but it is what it is.
Right.
You know,
it's interesting when you really look out at the evolutions we all make in these in our careers. And my marketing department recently said, Tim, it seems like every guest has a turning point. Like there's something that happens that makes them pivot, shift, refocus. Is there a turning point, something specific that happened in your life, in your career? And if you, I find a lot of times guests that there's one or two, right? This happened and made me this, and then this happened and made me that. What are some turning points that you've hit in your career?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's a great one. I had to think about that because life is complicated and it's layered, right?
My week is a turning point every week. It's,
yeah, man.
I'm gonna do that now. I guess. And
I got 3 kids, right? So the turning point for me was always has something to do with my kids. You know what I mean? Truthfully. And so the biggest one, if I had to sit there and go, if I'm telling my kids what I did, would they be proud of me? You know what I mean? And so, how much am I helping people? And that's really the big turning point for me. It's like, I don't feel like I'm adding anything. I feel like I'm taking. And man, I'm not here to knock anybody or anything because they're my clients, for God's sake, right? And everybody's trying to make a better life for themselves, right? But I just feel as if that was when I was like, I want to get on the other side of this, if that makes sense.
I mean, look, this podcast.
Right.
I mean, it's presented by REI Inc. magazine, and it's sponsored by RC and Capital. We're not talking about either of those companies.
Right.
Right. And we do this to try to give back, to try to add value. And I mean, I tell you, man, as long as I've been in this, you've known me a while. One of the coolest things is when someone sends me a message or a text or bumps into me somewhere, it tells me how much I helped them. Like, you know,
that's awesome, man.
Like, oh, you changed my, like one guy, like, he's like, dude, you're the reason I'm a millionaire. And like, you hear that, you're kind of like, oh, we hit happy hour now? Like,
yeah,
good day, you know? Like, I'm a millionaire maker, man, you know?
Yeah.
So I get you. I feel you. Like, it's, as a lender, right? Like, I mean, every time I make money, I helped an investor succeed, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, I close a fix and flip loan, congratulations, right? I close a rental loan, congratulations. And I'm always telling the team that too. It's like, hey, let's reach out to these folks. Like, call Mike, say, congratulations, dude.
It's all about relationships, bro. That's what I miss the most, because in the home buying space, it's not a relationship business. Okay. And so in the hair salon, it was all relationships, man. You know what I mean? It's all nothing about everything. It's the most relationship based industry there is, pretty much. And so I just feel like at the end of the day, if you're driven enough, you're going to find a way to make money.
Right.
And then after that, it's like, how do you make people feel, and how do you feel about yourself? Right. And you just got, every person has to answer that question.
I really do feel, and again, to echo what you said, I think HomeVestors, great people, great company. For me, when I look back, that convention was my favorite thing.
Oh, I loved it, bro.
That convention, I mean, because like you said, as an investor, and the investors out there listening, it's lonely. Like, you're on your own. All you do is hear people call you on their worst day.
Yeah.
Right? My dad died. My house flooded. It burned down. My daughter died. You know, it's like, it's not all sunshine and roses. So at least at HomeVestors, like, what I missed about the convention was, like, everybody got together, a little bit of bravado, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
I would bet with the Dallas Council, would bet against the Houston Council. Like, it was fun.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what led me to create the REI Expo that became Think Realty, and now has been sold to Dan Fleischman for the Aspire events.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think I do feel you. Like, it's a lonely world out there as an investor, especially if you're on your own, riding around and, you know, chucking the truck, so to speak.
Yeah, and plus you're a guy. So I think most guys, what did Rogan say? That most guys live a quiet life of desperation, right? Like, we don't share our losses because we feel like it's going to be weakness, right? And so you hide all that, and then you're lonely. And so that's why, like, you and I are part of multiple masterminds, you know? And that's why those things are important. I mean, we're not built to be alone and to do all that stuff by ourselves. We're built to be in a community. And I think that, for me, that's what drives me, man.
Perfect. So we're going to take a quick break, come back, do the money minute, some rapid fire, and then get you on your way.
All right, brother.
Stick around. We'll be right back.
REI Inc. is a monthly business publication for real estate investors, covering all types of real estate investments and strategies. It is the most comprehensive real estate investment publication on the market. All of the articles are written by the top leaders in the industry, so investors are assured of always getting the best information possible. Each month, REI Inc. also profiles the top companies in the industry and provides insights and data into key regional markets. Along with their sister platforms, the REI Referral Network and Highest Invest, real estate investors have exclusive access to off-market investment opportunities and national acquisition and disposition initiatives. To learn more, visit www.rei-inc.com, where you can also access the REI Referral Network. Also, be sure and visit www.highest-and-vest.com to view the latest exclusive off-market assets with near immediate acceptance decisions and closing strategies. You can also email marketing@rei-referralnetwork.com to request more information.
Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm Tim Harridge. I'm here with Mike Singletary, not the linebacker. Make sure
There you go.
I'm warming up to you. All right, Money Minute.
Yeah.
This is my favorite part of the show. Imagine there's an entrepreneur. Could be the young Mike that still owns the hair salons, or could be the person that bought the franchise system and maybe wishes they hadn't, or could be the Mike that just figured out he loves helping people more than profiting off them, whatever. But imagine there's an entrepreneur out there that is going to get 60 seconds of advice all month. That's it. And that's from you. Other than that, they're going to be cut off from everything. This is all they get. It's got to be 60 seconds, the best stuff you got. You ready?
Damn, dude. Best stuff I got. I got no, hold on. Am I ready? I don't know if I am ready. Best advice. Best advice. All right, let's rock and roll. Let's go. The best advice I could give somebody is that you got to play the long game. And it's a relationship-based game, right? So everybody wants that short win, and sometimes it's actually more beneficial to preserve the relationship and just play the long game. And more times than not, man, actually almost all the time, you're going to win.
Play the long game. That's It's such great advice because seasons, right? Seasonality, seasons of life, seasons of maturity, seasons of intelligence. I mean, it comes and goes. I tell my children, my oldest son, when he decided to stop playing college football, I just sat down with him. I said, I swear he was afraid I would be disappointed in him.
Yeah.
That he wasn't going to finish football or go to the NFL or whatever. And I said, son, listen, I don't care if you play football, but in this family, we don't sit still. So if we're done with football, awesome. I need to know what the next passion is, and we need to start heading there.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, right? And I told him, I said, look, if your life's a journey, and if you're on that journey, you have to understand there's going to be stops, there's going to be detours. You may be halfway to San Francisco, get to Denver, and decide you're going to Chicago. Doesn't matter. The point is, every day, as a member of this family, we get up and we take a step towards something that is a goal or something that we want to go at, right?
Right on.
And you just trust in the long game, right? You trust that your friend, your peer group, your friend group, your family group, the people that you're around will help guide you.
Yeah.
And you're going to make mistakes, and you won't remember the mistakes.
And you got to trust yourself, right? I mean, if you look back in your life, if this is where age comes in, you're like, I got over way worse than whatever situation I'm going through right now. You know what I'm saying? And so it starts young. So I do the same thing with my kids. So we have a family saying, if you went to my kids right now and go, Singletary's do, they're going to answer it, all of them, the same way. Hard things. I want to make sure that they understand that, hey, we're going to do the hard things, man. You know, there's a hard thing in front of us because we're going to fall on our face more times than not. That's what we do, right? This is what hard things feel like. This is a hard thing. You know, you have a choice. And we talk about this. They're 11. It's hard for them to conceive. 10, 9, and 6. It's hard for them to conceive, but we're beating at them so much that, man, you're going to fail. And so I even we literally talk about, what did you fail at today? Because if you're not failing, man, you're just not trying hard enough. I know that's a cliche, but it's the truth. You know what I mean? So
it's not a cliche. It's every morning when I drop my son off for school, I say honor and the same thing. He goes, myself, my God, and my family. Like, yeah. Because it's what I said to him every morning when I dropped him off, like since he was like in preschool.
Yeah.
Right? And because you've got to honor yourself. You've got to honor in my family our God. And then, you've got to honor your family. Like, especially like I got a weird last name, right? There's not a whole lot of Heritages.
Yeah.
And in the small town I live in, there are no other Heritages than my household.
Yeah.
I told my son, I said, yeah, you want to get on my radar real quick. Make me look bad, right? With my colleagues, my business owners, my business peers, my neighbors. Like, I'll teach you something, a thing or two about a thing or two really quick. So I love that. We do the hard things. How important is it to set an example?
I mean, obviously the answer is extremely important. I mean, it's just like if it's kids or your employees or anybody that's around you, man, everybody's watching. If you have a power position in any way, they're watching you. You know what I mean? And I think it's unbelievable. You set the tone for everything. So it's unbelievably important that you show up the way you want them to show up.
Do you think an investor or an entrepreneur should diversify or go deep into one, deep into one business or wide into a lot of businesses?
Man, I'm not the right person because
none of us are.
Yeah, I made the mistake of going wide, and I think that really, you really need to master one before you start, bouncing around into something else. And I think that we all have that, and I know I do, man. That's been a fault of mine for a long time, right? Especially when I got into this space, because you're seeing somebody else kicking ass in something, and you're like, hey, I could do that. But ultimately, man, that's just going to get you, it's just going to lead your focus, obviously, somewhere else. There's a power in compounding focus, just like compounding interest, right? If you're focusing on one thing over and over and over again, you can't help but get better at
right.
it, so that, I tell them that, my kids that too. And I tell people that. It's like compounding focus is a big deal. And I probably shouldn't be the person saying that because I have, multiple things and I'm stretched out. But, ultimately how I figured it out, or how I'm figuring it out, is that I have people around me to help me focus on the very next task, get that done, go on to the next task.
Number one, I love that you use the word compounding in cooperation with focus, because the power of compounding in general, I don't think enough people understand.
Right.
Whether it's compound return, compound appreciation, compound focus, compound effort, compound, like anything that can compound, like find that and do it.
Yeah.
And the other is what you said, and this is, I mean, I say this to the audience all the time. I'm not up here trying to help you through some sort of enlightenment, right? Like I'm not some sort of deity. I've just made enough mistakes in 22 years
to know what's up,
be able to tell you like what I wish I hadn't done, right? So like the same thing. When I say I think you should go deep, not wide, look, I've gone wide. Mm-hmm. I started a brokerage and a hard money company and a title company and then an acquisitions company, then a consulting company, then a technology company. And before you knew it, I had to create a company to house all the companies. And then you wake up one day and you're in traffic on the way to rush hour and you're like, what are you doing? You've created a job that you have to be at that you don't want to go to.
Yeah. And plus, you're just not performing at your best, right? You're spread out and you're not really helping anybody. You know what I mean? Because you're not your best, right? So everybody, like, you're the bottleneck. You're the grump. You're the grump.
There's no vision anymore. It's just angry Tim down the hall screaming at people like, dude, that's so, because it got to where no one wanted to come into my office.
Right. And you got a lot of stress, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of dominoes and just one domino. So I get that. And I think that, I fell in that trap. And I think that a lot of investors fall in that trap, and it is hard until you actually go through some shit. Right. You know what I mean? It's like you don't understand things. So you go through it and you're like, okay, yeah. And then now I have people like literally will roadblock me. Like if I come with you with another idea, unless it is freaking like genius, which is probably not.
Yeah.
Shut that shit down.
Well, as long as I've been in the real estate business at my house, we have this rule, and it's served me really well for about the last 10 years. It's 1 in, 1 out, right? If you bring one of anything into the home, something else needs to leave, right? And I taught the grandparents that, like, it's cool.
Yeah.
You want to buy Will, a little Matchbox car, awesome. Take something with you.
Yeah, I love that.
I've got enough. Well, the same thing goes for businesses, right? Like if you really believe enough in some business that you want to start, I feel like hindsight, you should be willing to leave one of them behind.
Well, when you're saying yes to something, you're ultimately saying no to something else.
Right.
Right. So when you say, yes, I want to take on this project, it's going to take bandwidth. That just means that you're not going to have, there might be some opportunity costs associated with it, that you're not really thinking it through, So
you guys recently launched a podcast. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, man. Me and my boy, Frank Chen, he's the master affiliate. Great guy, a good friend of mine. So we just launched Real Talks, which you're going to be a guest on. And we do cuss on that one. So that's why I apologize.
We cuss on this one. We just beep it out.
We can beep it. Yeah, actually what it is, man, is that we just want people coming in, and it is part of our growth too, because what we found, like the best part of podcasts was the before conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, everybody's like Nashville, whatever, and all of a sudden that red light comes on, and everybody gets their podcast voice. So, you know what I'm saying? All this other stuff. So
I don't know what you mean.
Yeah. We want to have that where, we're just talking about real stuff and real problems, because this is not Instagram, this is real life. Every single person that's done anything in their life has had to go through a pile of, to get there. And that is 100% true. You know what I mean? I've never met, I don't know, have you met anybody that's done anything in their life that did not have to go through something?
No. And anyone that sits in that chair that says they've never lost money on a house, I'm like, you need to leave.
Exactly. You're lying.
Full of it. Yeah.
You haven't done enough deals.
You're either new or a liar. One or the other.
Right.
All right. So Real Talks, when does it come out? Where's it at?
It's you can find it on Spotify, iTunes, all the channels. So it's Real Talks, comes out every single Wednesday. We have some really massive heavy hitters in there. And we're just trying to get as real as possible. And we're growing ourselves, which I like, man. We're growing as hosts ourselves,
And if someone, Star House, where all does it buy property? Texas?
So we're all in Texas. So actually we're Texas and Florida. Star House is Starland. Texas and Florida is Texas and Florida, essentially. And for Skip Force, just go to skipforce.com. If you have any issues with the platform or whatever the case is, just go on our chat box, ask them, or have a customer success team. They're all over it, man. They're great. Yeah.
Well, man, this is where every episode I ask the guest, do you have any parting thoughts or parting shots?
No, man, it's been a good time. It's hot in here,
dude. It is. Like, if you're watching the web show, like I'm sweating. Like every time they put the video on Mike, I grab a towel and like wipe down my head. So,
but no, it's been fun, bro. Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
I'm glad you came in. That's it for today. We're out of time. Remember, your network is your net worth, and today you've been growing both. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Uncontested Investing. Questions about today's episode or the podcast? Email podcast@rcncapital.com and make sure to follow REI Inc. magazine on LinkedIn and Facebook, and RCN Capital on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. See you all next time.